Travis Wing did so. So it looks like I'm in the process of converting one Mormon to the dark side away from the church. As he's now asking questions of me, realizing that what I know is a game changer. Yeah, the sex trafficking video should have been a game changer. I was really hoping it was going to be a breakout video and get 1,000 views in 2 days this time. But it was cut off last night. Just kind of sad. Maybe everybody was going to sleep. Maybe it'll resurge today. One can hope. But it's real simple. If your church leaders are committing crimes, they're not of God. It's not God's church. It's real simple, not complicated, yet Mormons have to make excuses. It's just like with evangelicals. All of their televangelists are committing sex sins and all sorts of crimes, and they just continue to believe in Jesus. Oh, yay, because they're fallible, and I can be fallible too, so I'm going to now go and commit crimes. Because that's what leaders teach their people when they commit crimes in the name of Jesus. Is that the people too can commit crimes in the name of Jesus. And so then you get people misinterpreting Scripture. You can't judge me. It says so in Scripture. No, you missed the context. So, yeah, very weird. But he was asking who the Smiths were protecting America from. As typing, I'm only able to give portional information. And so, let me go over the summary review of how the Smiths saved America. The threat is the Illuminati. They are real. Johann, which is a common Greek thing, you add it in, but it's usually ignored in common society, but it is part of the name. Johann Adam Weishaupt. He formed the Illuminati with 5 men. Why 5 men? Because you can invert the pentagram of 5 points on the star. That's his falling star of Lucifer, is his symbol. Specifically designed as the light bearer, Illuminati, on the 1st of May, 1776. This is a historical fact. It's not some fiction. It's not some myth. It's not some lie that MAGA Republicans back in the 18th century were creating. And so the process of which they did this was they're pissed with Christianity that's dominated all of Europe and is spreading throughout all the world and into America and such. And they want to stop it. And so it was, at the beginning, just a bunch of criminals going around murdering, stealing, plundering. And for that they get chased around. But they eventually learned the technique of infiltrating, rising up in population, rising up in chain of command and authority, and then taking over and destroying and starting all over again. And that was their plan. They did it with governments and so forth. And people think that they no longer exist. I've done the research to show they've left the sign to let us know they're not dead. Each group they infiltrate, they make changes to, and that secret sign keeps popping up with the groups that they've successfully taken over and infiltrated. And so it's not a joke, it's not a con, but they love people to think that. And so the War of 1812, and so Nathaniel Rothschild, who I think now is in charge of the family business, the banking business, as the Napoleon War they were able to monopolize in England, as there was a little con that was played on the other bankers who lost all their money to bow out. And so then central banks became the thing. And our Congress, prior to the War of 1812, decided we don't want the central bank anymore. Going to do a new system. And so Nathaniel Rothschild's, as he's in the banking thing and was directly tied to the central bank here in America because of England's control over it, was unhappy. And so he paid for the War of 1812 to get Britain to come over in their ships and commence the war. And this is the war where the White House is burned to the ground. And so it wasn't Canada. What a dumbass for a president. I need to give him the electric chair. Or they can hang him like Saddam. He did far worse than Saddam. Saddam was just a contract failure that he got blamed for. Our CIA went and gave arms in violation of the contract with the people. And so they were training to go up against Saddam, and they violated the contract, and so Saddam, keeping to the contract agreement, annihilated them. The Illuminati were able to plant themselves in America during that war. And we know, thanks to 9/11, 1826 with William Morgan, that they had infiltrated the Scottish Rites Freemasonry in America. And their plot to destroy Christianity involved fulfilling biblical prophecy at the time that the biblical prophecies gave for the latter days. And I've been going over this with you, trying to help you out and teach you, not just warn you, as John in Revelation gives us latter-day dates for the events that are supposed to be taking place in prophecy. They're all supposed to be taking place in the time frame that John the Revelator gives us. Their whole intention is to destroy government, America is part of that, and destroy Christianity as well, so that they can cut out all this nonsense of the Spanish Inquisition and the atrocities committed by the Catholic Church because of their dogmatic belief in Jesus created by Constantine. See, when you have a false god, you tend to do bad things. You have to believe in a true God. And even though the Bible does talk about loving your neighbors, it tends to get twisted as people think, well, I need to destroy your life and make you subject to me in order to love you. It's for your own good. But it's just, they were pissed, and they thought that committing crime would solve that. And so, yes, an idol god to commit crime with, and I'm going to be horrified if they conquer and win and then twist science to their ends, because they're going to push science. But we've already seen in Nazi Germany how science is wrongly used for the master race and such, and human experimentations, which was commenced over here in America, as we gave asylum to many of the psychologists and medical doctors to continue to perform the human experimentations. And wouldn't you know it, the division in our nation, the dichotomous division, the tribal dichotomous division, that's all by psychologists. They're the ones who created that. And so I keep trying to warn you on those issues too. It's not about whether you're pro-life or pro-choice. That's not the problem. The problem is the cause. And psychology never goes to the cause because they're a fraud. And so This is what they're plotting to do. This is how evil they are. And so they're now in America. They've infiltrated the Scottish Rites Freemasonry of the 33 degrees and turned what was a good fraternity to make good men better. They've now corrupted it, twisted it, because that's what they do. And so all of you who think that Freemasonry in and of itself is evil are wrong. You've been lied to by those who are purposely trying to deceive you to focus on the wrong things. And so William Morgan was involved in the War of 1812 and learned of this plot. And he realized that making a book would probably be the best way to get the information out to everybody. And so he got a hold of the Batavian Press, got a home there in Batavia, New York. It's West New York, more west than Palmyra and where the Smiths lived on the farm in 1818, after Joseph Smith Sr. became a Master Mason. And if you're wondering, wow, that's interesting timing, he becomes a Master Mason and then is able to obtain the farm to take care of his family with. Not a coincidence. That's what happens in Freemasonry. They take care of each other. And especially a Master Mason, who's supposed to take care of the members of the lodge, he too is taken care of by the lodge members. The book that was published with William Morgan's name explains all this for us. And that was not the book that he was trying to publish. You know, it's nothing exposing, just to say that a Master Mason takes care of his brothers and they take care of him because they're supposed to do good in society. Oh, wow, that's the big secret. Got to keep that one a secret. Gonna have to commit suicide if you reveal those secrets. And so, yeah, nobody believes that that book was his actual book. The Batavian Press was just trying to make their money back because they had a contract agreement with him to do some kind of an advance payment that was known back in those days. I don't know the specific term for it. And he was arrested in Canandaigua, New York on 9/11/1826. Well, that's where Joseph Smith Sr. is the Master Mason. Huh. And the Wikipedia page on William Morgan does not mention that. He's a York Rite member who obtains the Royal Ark, and yet they don't mention the Canandaigua Lodge at all. They mention the Batavian Press and David Miller coming to bail him out of jail, and then help him with a carriage that goes to the Niagara Falls area where he then is supposed to disappear. And I found a backstory from that. I found a person claiming to be a descendant of William Morgan's second wife. After he had fled the country, he had obtained another wife. But I won't go into that in this video. But yeah, it's weird. They don't mention, it's all about Freemasonry, and they don't mention the lodge in Canandaigua, other than he was arrested in Canandaigua. So what's he doing in Canandaigua? His home is in Batavia. He's writing the books in Canandaigua, and he lives in Batavia, where the press is. And he's arrested because he's working on the books in Canandaigua. Weird. And Joseph Smith Sr. is the Master Mason. And if you read the book that's in William Morgan's name, you will see what Joseph Smith Sr. would have done as his duty as a Master Mason. He helped his brother flee the country to save his life, and then took the responsibility to finish the publication of the book. I wonder what book Joseph Smith Sr. published. I wonder how many 116 pages they got finished before William Morgan had to flee the country. It's one of these things that I'm a Mormon and I'm reading history that doesn't care about the church. And I'm going, wait a minute. This ties directly to the church. And they don't see it. They're not catching it, or they're not telling us. And here I am, a Mormon, and I'm told all about the Smiths and New York and all this, and I find out that he's a Master Mason and Canandaigua, and I make the connections, and I go, holy crap, Joseph Smith Sr. did this? He saved America. The Book of Mormon is the book designed to warn America about right now. And Mormons want to deny this and get angry with me and hate me and want me dead so that it becomes literal history instead. What the bleep is wrong with you? Ex-Mormons? They're God, guys. I'm so frustrated because you know all of the various popular ex-Mormon channels, and then there's unpopular ex-Mormon channels, and you can go to each of their channel video listings and you can see the exact same video is covered by each and every single one of them. All the same parroted criticisms are on every single critic video. And then you come to mine and you go, what the hell is he talking about? This isn't the church I know. Jewish, not Christian? What are you talking about? And so yes, both sides of you are confused because they used psychology to divide, to conquer Mormonism with the false dichotomy. And you all fell for it. And I've been trying to warn you about it, and you don't listen. You don't hearken to my voice. And so if you didn't know, the Knights Templar is in the York Rites. They have the Prince of Jerusalem in the Scottish Rites. And so, yes, they both knew and understood the concept of a bloodline of King David. Solomon being the symbolic future last days restorer of the 18th dynasty, David, Moses, pharaohs. As that's why they had the Egyptian gold plates that the Pope accused them of worshiping, instead of worshiping Jesus of Trinity, Constantine. And Friday the 13th, that's more associated with York Rites. 33 for Scottish, 13 for York Rites. All because of the Knights Templar. And the Knights Templar coming to America in 1363, according to the Kensington Stone, which was a receipt for the purchase of the eastern United States, in which, yeah, that's where the biblical prophecies of the solar eclipses would occur over America. Because solar eclipses do not occur all over the world at the same time. They're just a portion of the world. So we witnessed the first year, 21st of August 2017, that crossed the whole United States. It didn't continue on into Europe and Asia and Africa and the Pacific. You know, it was up around Oregon and came down into the Carolinas, and that was it. Done and over with. And so we're getting a crossing on 8 April 2024. And I've done the videos with you. Other people know all this, that there's a whole bunch of Salems on those paths. And there's even some Salems that those people who knew about it didn't talk about. I did. Yeah, there's a Salem Road that runs north and south in Illinois that passes through. They don't seem to do roads. They were just focusing on the towns that were named Salem that crosses. And so I was pointing out the roads and stuff that also are involved. And then at the epicenter of the crossing, there's also a Salem road. Not a coincidence, but I have no idea who these people are that established this. And so other people know all this. The natives who lived there in southern Illinois and just happened to disappear after 1363 when the purchase was made. They were the sun people of the sun god at the sun city, committing human sacrifices to the sun god at that location. And human sacrifices are the symbol of the sign in the heavens. Joseph Smith translation, Revelation 12:1, signs in the heavens and the likeness of things on the earth. These guys knew of the signs in the heavens that were coming in that location, and thus were performing human sacrifices because of the symbolism involved. And so they knew about it, and yes, that's a long time ago. And the Knights Templar knew about it, because there's Little Egypt. That's where they buried the Egyptian gold plates in myth form in the caves there in southern Illinois. Remember John Taylor talking about how Joseph Smith had mentioned seeing in vision a cave full of gold plates? Yeah, John Taylor knew too. But he's on the enemy's side. He was the one that murdered Hiram. And then Joseph shot him 3 times, one in with the watch, chased him under the bed. So Willard Richards came from behind, shot him in the back with his 6-shooter when he went to get the wine, as he talks about in his storyline, his witness statement, which never went to the court. It was never presented in the court. Brigham Young took him and left. And they were rewarded by Brigham for what they did. So when you're doing forensic investigation of a crime scene, a murder scene, those are the things you look for. And yet, it was not done back then. And so the criminals got away with it. And yet they have the song, Praise to the Man, that includes that line. Let's bring that up, show you how hypocritical they are. Oh, no, not that one. No. Praise to the man who was murdered as we fled the country. Yeah, you see a whole bunch of Danites encoding the hymns. Those who were writing hymns. Let's see. Traitors and tyrants now fight him in vain. They're honoring him after murdering him, so they can fool the Mormons. That's just despicable. Conquer the hero again. Conquer the hero again. That's an interesting phrase, because there were some Mormons who believed that Joseph Smith was going to be reincarnated or resurrected and come back to be the man like Moses for the second coming. There is still a few of them left today, and then there's more who know of it. Whether they believe it or not, that's another issue. But death cannot conquer the hero again. Seems to indicate that Joseph ain't coming back from the dead. They've made sure of it. Yeah, there it is. Plead unto heaven while the earth lauds. Oh, wait a minute. Blessed is God, long shall his blood, which was shed by assassins. Let's see. Sacrifice brings forth the wake of the world, and the millions shall know brother Joseph again. Yeah, as a Christian this time. Is it not in this one? It's the earth must atone for the blood of that man. Where is it? Did they take it out? Did the church take it out? Maybe I should. Praise to the man who communion with Jehovah. Jesus anointed the prophet and seer. Blessed to open the last dispensation. Kings shall extol him, nations revere. Praise to the memory he died as a martyr. Honored and blessed with his name. Long shall his blood, which was shed by assassins, plead unto heaven while the earth lauds its fame. Sacrifice bringing forth the earth. Earth must atone for the blood of that man. See, they're blaming the earth. They weren't blaming the earth. They were blaming the United States of America. Brigham Young purposely changed wrote the Temple Endowment Ceremony. And in there, he had a law of anti-American, death to America, in there. That's long gone. But he was using this, getting away with murder of Joseph Smith. He then blamed the wrong people and turned Mormons against the United States. That was his whole plot. That's what you do. We're witnessing it with a certain asterisk 45 president. Because already they're saying, oh, they're planting evidence. Oh, they're going to assassinate him. Oh, they're making stuff up. See, they're already setting it up for a war in this. This is what they do. They've always done this throughout all time once they were formed and created and began doing this. This is their tactic and technique, and it's the same in each generation. The pattern that I may put earlier, because this is going to be a longer video, obviously. And so, you know them by their pattern of crime. And so, yeah, he's all saying, oh, I don't know who they are. Yeah, whatever. Get out of here. You're a mob. You're a wannabe mobster. You're doing all your businesses so you can launder money for people so that they can do you a favor one day. That's why your casino failed. Nobody's casino fails. You're supposed to be successful with casinos because they're rigged. So, in order to fail a casino, it's because you're only using it for laundering money, not for making money. So, the only thing probably not were the stakes. And so, bloodline, Kensington Stone, solar eclipses, okay. And so 1826, that occurs. Yeah, and finding out about Heber C. Kimball under Masonry, he lied. He's writing his journal now in Salt Lake Valley, and he's speaking back, claiming he went to Canandaigua Lodge. He doesn't mention Joseph Smith Sr. Why not? He knows him. He knows of him. Joseph. Things I sacrifice for you guys to make videos. But, yeah, they were all about destroying the church. So they infiltrate it. Heber C. Kimball finds out. He gets in contact with Brigham Young, who moves into Mendon there in New York. And they're part of the Scottish Rites, and so they've been infiltrated by the Illuminati, and the 1826 has already occurred. They're looking for who was responsible, because William Morgan's gone, and they want to know who has the manuscripts and all this. And so with the Book of Mormon now going around, Heber C. Kimball gets it, reads it, knows. It's still coded sufficiently that he can figure out that they were a part of it. I've been telling you, the Book of Mormon's coded. And so when you see his Masonry account, read his Masonry account, you realize he's lying and that he's the bad guy of church history. And he gets a hold of Brigham Young, and Brigham Young keeps changing his Wikipedia page for his history, thanks to a certain somebody who keeps exposing things. And so now the latest that I've seen is that he abandoned his family to join the church in this crusade to destroy it. And they're involved in missionary work, and so what do? Yeah, they go back and convert all the Scottish Rites Illuminati that they were a part of. Say, we found them, we're going to infiltrate their group now and take it over and then destroy it. And so they're calling it the Church of Jesus Christ to everybody they convert. So in 1838, Joseph Smith comes out with his history account, which is written in the learning of the Jews. It's not a literal thing. And informs us that Jesus is not our Christ, and explains through code in the first vision and in Nephi coming to Joseph that we're Jewish in concept, in religious concept. And you need to be thinking about a Christ in the form of human. And so Joseph Smith then ties 2 Nephi chapter 3, which is about him as the Christ of Mormonism, to the Deuteronomy passage as a result, if you hadn't caught it by reading the Book of Mormon in the first place. And so they had in 1838 Newell K. Whitney's home by Spring Hill, Missouri. And if you're unfamiliar with Spring Hill, Missouri, you don't know about Section 116, which we all have been led to believe is where Adam on Diamond was near, or is. And it was where Adam came to visit the people and was referred to in Daniel for the latter days. And so everybody assumes that that's the great priesthood meeting where Jesus is going to come to receive the keys of the kingdom. He's already got them if you're believing in Jesus, because he got them at the Mount of Transfiguration. He doesn't need to get them back. What are you guys thinking? And so it's coded by the Danites. Newell K. Whitney is a Danite. Section 117. Shame be to Newell K. Whitney for his association with the Danites, coded as Nicolaitan banned from Revelation. You're looking in your footnotes, right? And so Joseph Smith knows of the Danites. He doesn't know who the leader is. He doesn't know the exact members. He just knows that Newell K. Whitney was associating with Danites. And they had occupied what became known as the city of Adam on Diamond. They purposely named it Adam on Diamond, spelled A-H-M-A-N, rather than A-W-M-A-N, which is what Joseph used. And so, yes, Ammon, son Ammon, yeah, that's our Christ, his name, from Emmanuel, the sun god at noonday. And they were mocking him by naming it Adam on Diamond and trying to claim that the site had the ancient altar of Adam and all that stuff. That was them. It wasn't Joseph. Because the Joseph Smith papers have come out now and we can see the original document. They had written in the original document and had deleted the text that they had written, and it's faded, which means that it was old and faded, but then all of a sudden you see fresh ink starting to talk about Newell K. Whitney's home, Joseph Smith coming to visit, going to Spring Hill, the section of 116, and it's fresh ink that's blatantly different than the faded ink. They took the book that was stopped and they added to it at a much later time period. Yeah, and they're in Salt Lake. And that's what they were able to do. And if you're unfamiliar with section 116 of when it was put in the Doctrine and Covenants, you're probably thinking, well, it was put in the 1835, Travis. Yeah, the 1838 was put in 1835. Sure, you believe that. And so you look up Doctrine and Covenants, Wikipedia. And the church is involved in this, so don't be panicked that everything online is wrong. So sections added to the LDS edition. I mean, you can confirm this with the Joseph Smith papers if you don't believe it, because they'll have the 1835. You will not find the section that became 116 in there, because section 116 was not added in 1844, after Joseph died. They put in some extra scriptures for Joseph's memory to carry it on. And so they added 103, 105, 112, 119, 124, 127, 128, and 135. 1876. When did Brigham die? 1877. So the year before he dies, he puts in 2, 13, 77, 85. That is confirmed as having been published in the Times and Seasons. That's Joseph. But Parley P. Pratt? Yeah, he gave in to the Danites. Came west with them. Or is it W.W. Phelps? It is W.W. Phelps. I was doing Parley P. Pratt. Parley P. Pratt did, but W.W. Phelps, but that's why, even though Parley P. Pratt's linguistic signature is in the Book of Mormon, he did not write that. He had written a separate thing, and Sidney Rigdon, as his religious leader in Ohio for his church, knew of Parley P. Pratt, and as he's the major author of the Book of Mormon, yep. That's what they did. They went through Parley P. Pratt first, and then Parley P. Pratt came back to Ohio and said, "Hey guys, look what I found. Oh wow, let's join this church." A cover story. Plausible deniability. And so, yeah, it is a prophecy of Joseph's. It's not null and void because he repented. W.W. Phelps is a bad guy. He's a Danite. 87. And in fact, there's the story of Johnson. Can't remember his first name. Brother Johnson. He's the one who, in Mormon mythology now, so it's literal. He tells the story that he went to Adam-on-Diamond. And at Adam-on-Diamond, he's sitting down resting, and a Danite comes up to him and has the pistol, saying, "Denounce the Church of Joseph Smith, or I'm going to shoot you." And that's where the misfiring supposedly occurred, and he refused to denounce Joseph. Well, he did. He joined the Danites. That's the cover story that he's trying to tell. He's trying to claim he's innocent, but the Danites ran Adam-on-Diamond. So him saying he went to Adam-on-Diamond as oopsie, you just exposed yourself as a fraud. And so the Danites were recruiting Mormons, join us or get out or we'll murder you. That's what they were doing. So this Johnson guy is the one who reveals that in church history. And so 87, 108 to 111, 113 to 118. Yeah, they didn't want Newell K. Whitney in there. They didn't want 116. They added 116 so that they can then justify 117. And so you can see the evil that was going through their mind. And guess what? 129 to 132. Yep, 131 was not put in. What's in 131 in the Joseph Smith papers? Wait a minute. 131 as we have it has been gutted. And what's 132 about? And why gutting 131 is tied to putting in 132. All of you ex-Mormons who keep circulating the same... You guys are getting played for fools. Stop it. It's about monogamy. And Brigham Young gutted 131 so that he can put it in the Doctrine and Covenants the year before he died, and thus justify 132, which has his linguistic fingerprint all over it, from his temple endowment text, his sealing text. That's Brigham. This section 132 is Brigham, and he purposely lied to say it was Joseph in 43, but said it may have been as early as 1832. 132. And so that's where you get the other Danites coming out after Brigham Young made it public to support Brigham and say that Joseph was a polygamist because of the angel that threatened him and didn't murder him for another decade or so. I think it was 12 years later. Yeah, 12 years later, 32 to 44. And so all of this are just lies. They purposely said, oh, Joseph approves of our crimes. He's involved too. This is what they do. They are evil. So, alrighty. And so, yeah, the Council of 50. It's an anti-government government, counter to the United States government. And they, of course, said Joseph was in charge of it, who created it, so that they can justify it. And Joseph Smith had nothing to do with it. He was running for president of the United States at the time. And so to have a counter-government would not bode well in the election if it were exposed. The Council of 50 were a secret group. And they kept their own meeting notes and claimed that other people were coming to justify it. But they weren't. Joseph Smith Papers vindicates them. Just as the Joseph Smith Papers vindicates Joseph on the Mormon War in 1838. He was not in Adam-on-Diamond to go to the Davies County election and cause the Mormon War there with the election fraud scandal. Huh, a similar pattern again. And look, a descendant of one of those, John D. Lee, Danites, was involved in our election fraud scandal. Senator Mike Lee. He knows, guys. That's why he does what he does in Congress. And Mormons vote for him because he's Mormon. And many of them are probably Danites and know all about it. That's why Mormons are upset with me. That's why I have people who systematically stalk me to put a thumbs down on my videos, to send hate comments and death threats. It's because they're Danites. They don't want me exposing what they're planning to do with the DC Temple painting code of the Second Coming, where Jesus is going to overthrow American government. Dear God. And so, yeah, the account of the Danites going to the judge and the sheriff forcing them to sign saying that Joseph Smith was responsible. No, Danites. Joseph Smith was in far west Missouri. It's too far away for him to have even gotten there by the evening time to tamper with the election. He was there selling Emma a tract of land for the Relief Society. No, not for the Relief Society. It was for something else. Can't remember what it was for. But I saw it, made a copy of it for the gold plates that I was trying to preserve on my eviction day. But, yeah, dear God. But Joseph Smith Papers vindicates Joseph. Ex-Mormons, do you understand this? If you're going to continue to spread the lies, at least do it knowingly. Otherwise, you need to go back into the Joseph Smith papers and review everything again. Even Sandra Tanner, sorry dear, you've been great collecting the documents and exposing the church as lying to us, but the Joseph Smith papers, you need to go over them. There's some bombshells that correct your conclusions. And yes, Sidney Rigdon is the author of the Book of Mormon. She doesn't believe that. She believes Joseph Jr. wrote it. He had nothing to do with the composition. It was Senior and Sidney that were involved. And Oliver Cowdery was the go-between, helping Sidney and then transporting the papers. Because you've got... I can't think of the place. I got Mendon stuck in my head now, and it's ruining what the actual name of the place, the farm is. But, yeah, you've got the farm, and then you've got Harmony, north of Pittsburgh, which connects to Sidney Rigdon, because Sidney Rigdon lived right next door to Harmony, Pennsylvania at one point in time, when Joseph was there in Harmony. And then Ohio, just a direct path for that. And so it's far enough away from Canandaigua that the enemy wouldn't find them, but they did with the Book of Mormon published. And so Joseph Smith gets blamed, is arrested in Liberty Jail, as Orrin Porter Rockwell is Brigham Young's assassin, not Joseph's. So that's another correction you need to make. And Joseph then writes section 121 and 122. 122 is what Nelson quoted from the pulpit of conference, giving me a death threat. Yay! They know I know. It's because I sued them twice. Of course they know I know, and they're upset with me, and they've destroyed me, as you can tell from the new scene in the background. And so they're not happy that I discovered Adam on Diamond from Joseph Fielding Smith's Ways to Perfection. That's why I put that picture in the thumbnails for you, is so that you can be reminded of when I was going over this with you, when I found the book, and then I bought the book, and then I went over the book when I bought it, and then I showed you the little death threat note that I was given, a missionary card at my bus stop where I get my money, or the main money anyway. And then sure enough, I lose the money, and sure enough, they try to evict me. And here I am. I knew exactly what they were doing, and I let you guys know every step of the way. And instead, I got comments of, "Oh, you don't know." Yeah, I do. So, yeah, I mean, you can even see it on YouTube now. Just recently, the other week, 1,000 views. Where are they now? We got low views, 1,000 views, low views. I was hoping that the sex trafficking video, maybe I should have put Brigham Pimp Daddy, whatever I called it, on the thumbnail. Maybe I should have put that as the thumbnail. I had both of them, but I chose to do the sex trafficking trail instead. So it's a no-brainer. This ain't the right church. It's not a Christian church, and it's definitely not Joseph's church. It's Lucifer's, because the signs are everywhere, guys. Because that's what the Illuminati do. They infiltrate, take over, and change to their signs. And the Nauvoo Temple. When was it dedicated? 1st of May, 1846. Mormons were pissed that it wasn't dedicated on 6 April. It was already built, ready to go. Brigham Young was doing second anointings in January. to be the king of the United States. And instead, he had to flee the country and go to the Mexico territory and establish his kingdom there instead. The church doesn't want you to know this, and so instead they say that it was in 46, I think it is. I think they do the winter quarters meeting that they claim is when Brigham was made president. But he wasn't officially made president until 51, I believe. And then as his first act of unrighteous dominion, he makes polygamy public. Yay. If you don't know first act of unrighteous dominion, you don't know section 121 of Joseph Smith and Liberty Jail. Come on, guys. Brigham knew this, and he was purposely mocking it to fulfill all the evil parts of Scripture. That's what he does. He's a bad guy, a murderer. And so, yes, the inverted pentagram is on the Nauvoo Temple, dedicated on 1st of May in tribute to the Illuminati of whom they worship. And so the inverted pentagram is in between the Jewish star on top and the sunstone, the rising stone in this particular case, on the bottom. And if you don't understand the Egyptian concept, you have the rising sun, you have the sun at noonday, Amen, and the setting sun. And so what Brigham did in the design is show Joseph Smith as the rising sun, the founder of the church, the Christ of Mormonism, cornerstone of Mormonism. He's conquered. He doesn't ascend to the sun at noonday. That's supposed to be the inverted pentagram of Venus. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? And instead, he puts the star of Venus as inverted pentagram in the middle at the sun at noonday, having conquered Joseph Smith's church. All Mormons should have feared when he put that up there on the Nauvoo Temple. But they didn't know symbolism, I guess. And so then the Jewish star at the top, yeah, that's old and dying. That's the setting sun. That's what Joseph Smith was going to make it. And so when you are a Dan Brown's Tom Hanks character, you know these things. A symbologist is what he was. Yeah. And so, yeah, the Book of Mormon and Doctrine and Covenants is warning us of what's going to happen within the period of time that John talks about for the latter days. And wouldn't you know it, Doctrine and Covenants, section 45, verse 31. Not a coincidence. And so Fox 13 News may have actually been right about China, as China refuses to allow investigators to find out the origin source for it, as other people were wrong because they were all trying to claim it was the market. But that was too easy and convenient. But the University of Utah confirmed it came from bats. Good job. We already knew this. But now, dear God. And then once you understand this, then you watch what Nelson talks about in conference, which temples in which countries he's establishing. So when he came out and said, in a major city yet to be determined in Russia, I panicked. The rest of you cheered. We're going to convert Russia. No, you're not. That's not how it's done in Russia. You do business in Russia. Putin has to approve it. And then you get compromised in that approval. You have to do them a favor, though. And so the church, yeah, bears ears. in 2017. They failed, and thus no temple in Russia to this date, as now Putin took the money and used it for the war in Ukraine. Ezekiel 38, Bruce R. McConkie's chapter heading. The Second Coming. And so Nelson is working with Putin to destroy America and establish the Kingdom of Deseret again. It's not complicated, but apparently it's too complicated for the U.S. Attorney General to see that they need to be locked up. And the sex trafficking, gone over that with you. But Albert Pike, his infamous letter to Giuseppe Mazzini, talking about the plans to overthrow the governments with 3 world wars and destroy Christianity. Confirmed. He's Scottish Rites. He claims the Illuminati. Confirmed. And so when you get John D. Lee and the Mountain Meadows Massacre on 9/11, 9/11's a code word referring to William Morgan, the first 9/11. And so, yeah, you can go back to our nation's 9/11 and see other things involved as 1,000 points of light. Dear God, a new world order. That is the theme song for this video. Where's my pen? Alright. So, the summary review is a long one, isn't it? So, I've got nothing to do with my life. We have time. We'll get the other ones up first, obviously. But that's the church history in a nutshell.